August is the beginning of the end of summer. The days will get colder and children will have to return to school. But there is one constant: brand new games releasing every month. More and more games for your Steam Deck. Today we'll be talking about upcoming releases in August of 2024 and to make educated guesses on whether or not games will run well on Steam Deck or not. But before that, if you like this video or any other video I make, please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. Spreading the good gospel of high-tech low-life lets the YouTube algorithm know that I'm doing well. So without further ado, let's begin then. There are two games of interest coming out on August the 1st, the first of which is Star Wars Bounty Hunter. This game actually came out many years ago on GameCube and PS2. But now it's finally getting released on PC and modern consoles. Star Wars games during the prequel ages tended to be pretty good, so I think this will be pretty good as well. That said, I haven't actually played the game yet. I have no reason to believe this game won't run well on Steam Deck, but you know, with remasters, anything goes. Sometimes games that should run well and have run well before a remaster runs terribly. That said, I don't see it happening with this game, so I think this game will run pretty well on Steam Deck. But if you're not into remasters, there's always Kitsune Tales. It's a 2D indie platformer. It kind of takes inspiration from Super Mario Bros. In fact, it feels like Super Mario Bros. It's an interesting game to say the least, and I've tried the demo out on Steam Deck, and yes, the demo runs on Steam Deck pretty well. And I am like 100% certain this game will run really well on Steam Deck. I mean, why wouldn't it, right? And next, I want to talk about Motor Doom. It looks like one of those old PS1 era BMX titles, but this time with guns. It's like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater meets Vampire Survivors. You'll be doing tricks on your bike, and you'll be shooting up enemies. It looks like a lot of fun, and I think this game will run pretty well on Steam Deck, except towards the end of a run where there's going to be a bunch of enemies. Then I can see performance taking a hit, but I don't see it taking a massive hit unless it's just unoptimized, you know? Yes, this game releases on August the 2nd. The next game is Fields of Mystria. You know, I don't typically talk about cozy games because they're not my thing, but something about this cozy game kind of clicked with me, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. I tried out the demo a while back on the Steam Deck, and honestly, it kind of clicked with me. I'm not entirely sure why, but it just clicked. Anyways, the demo ran really well on Steam Deck, and as such, the game hopefully will run well on Steam Deck as well. That said, this isn't exactly the quote-unquote full release, but the game is getting an early access release on August the 5th. But also releasing on August the 5th is a pretty momentous title. It's a shmup published by Konami, and it looks like a brand new IP. It almost looks like no one's attempted to make a shmup in a modern AAA style, and it looks like these developers are doing just that. I couldn't tell you any specifics about the game itself, like how many levels there are or, you know, how the scoring system works, but it does look kind of fun. I do think you will have to lower the graphical details to get this game working on Steam Deck, but it is a worthwhile trade-off to play this on the go. The next game I want to talk about is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime Isekai Chronicles. Yes, it's based on the eponymous That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime light novel and anime series. No, I haven't watched the anime, and I kind of don't feel like it, but hey, from the onset it looks like a side-scrolling action RPG, but it's hard to tell if, well, it is an action RPG or if it's like a roguelike or something, or better yet, a Metroidvania. But what we do know is that there's a city building aspect. Honestly, I think this game will run pretty well on Steam Deck. I have no reason to believe that it won't. And this title will be released on August the 7th. Of course, the next game I want to talk about is a game called Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. After the release and subsequent success of Balatro, I started to see some roguelike deck builders based on classic casino games. But aside from Balatro itself, this game seems like the most compelling one of them all. It's blackjack where you duel against other opponents. You and your opponent face off with your decks, and whoever has the higher hand at the end of a round wins. You deal damage equal to the difference in hand. The big risk is when you bust, opening you up for full damage. And every opponent has a unique deck. This makes for an exciting round of blackjack, a strange form of blackjack as the game calls it. In addition to your standard cards, there's a bunch of non-standard cards. Cards with special abilities, cards that can lock down your opponent, or entirely remove cards from their deck. It's honestly the most fun you'll have playing blackjack outside of winning a bunch of money at the casino. I've played the demo, and the demo works excellently on Steam Deck. So I have no reason to believe that this game won't work excellently on your Steam Deck either when the full game releases. Expect this to release on August the 8th. Next up is Zombie Police: Christmas Dancing with Police Zombies. It's a mystery and investigation sort of game. You take control of a duo, and one of them happens to be a zombie. You can investigate crime scenes and deduce what happened. Investigation games are always interesting because while they may seem like the average visual novel, they really aren't. These sorts of games do require some actual thought to get correctly, and in this case you're doing detective work, so you don't want to get that all wrong. There is a demo, I've yet to try it, but I also have no reason to believe this wouldn't work on Steam Deck just fine. As such, I firmly believe this would make for a pretty good Steam Deck game. Well, that is, if the game is actually any good. You know? This game releases on August the 8th. One game that I haven't heard of before but looks incredibly promising is Llinksman. It looks like a standard turn-based RPG, but what makes the game different is the word system. Rather than casting a spell through a menu, you instead assemble words from different pieces, different groups of letters. This game will live and die by the word variety, the word choices, the letter choices you get, and most importantly, what you can actually do. This word has all the promise of something like Scribblenauts, but in a more focused environment. The big question is, how far can we go? That said, there is a demo out, and from what I understand, the demo works pretty well on Steam Deck, so hopefully the game also works well on Steam Deck as well. We'll find out how good this game is on August the 13th. Now let's talk Intravenous 2. For those not in the know, Intravenous 1 was given away for free recently, and if you didn't know about it, then maybe you should have joined my Discord, you would have found out about it. Much like Intravenous 1, Intravenous 2 is a top-down stealth action game, kind of like the very old Metal Gear games, the original ones that were top-down. You can choose to be the master of stealth, or you can choose to be a guns-blazing action hero. And yes, there's always multiple solutions to a problem, and there even is a demo you can try out. Well, more accurately, it's a prologue, quote-unquote. And it runs pretty darn well on Steam Deck, in my opinion. This game releases on August the 15th. So now let's talk about arguably the biggest release of this month, Black Myth Wukong. It's an action RPG based on classic Chinese literature, namely Journey to the West. You know, Dragon Ball was also loosely inspired by Journey to the West, at least until Z happened, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, Black Myth Wukong looks great, and it looks so great it makes me question whether or not this game will run well on Steam Deck. All of this really depends on if this game can be scaled down to work on PC handhelds, which I certainly hope it does. Anyways, this game releases on August 19th. Next up is Tactical Breach Wizards. It's high fantasy meets clandestine Black Ops operations. It's a turn-based tactical strategy game, and you have a lot of options, with different characters having different abilities. This is a game that I actually tried the demo for on Steam Deck, and the demo runs great. Getting rooms cleared out efficiently requires a lot of thinking, and thankfully this game has a lot of thought put into it. Well, at least the demo did. This game releases on August the 22nd. Next up is Gundam Breaker 4. Rather than focusing on any sort of Gundam series, this instead focuses on Gunpla, assembling your own mobile suits, or perhaps taking different pieces from different mobile suits to create your own hybrid. The gameplay itself is more of a hack and slash affair, and honestly it looks pretty fun. The only real question is how will the actual gameplay itself hold up, and how will customizing your different Gundams affect gameplay, if at all. Hopefully it does, right? Otherwise, I'd probably just go back to playing Armored Core 6. That said, this game does look like it'll run pretty well on Steam Deck, and yes, this releases on August the 28th. Another game I'm looking forward to is Shadow of the Ninja Reborn. It's a remake of classic NES title Shadow of the Ninja, and man does it look good. I mean, there really isn't much to say, this is right up my alley, and this game looks like it'll run great on Steam Deck. In addition to having 5 faithfully recreated levels, there's also an additional 6th level that's totally new. Anyways, this game should be released on August the 29th. And also releasing on August the 29th is another Square Enix RPG. If I remember correctly, the Mana games were always action RPGs. I remember Secret of Mana being like a Zelda-like, but is it a good time to mention that I've never actually played any of the Mana games? Anyways, Square Enix has been treating the Steam Deck really well, so I think this will also run pretty well on Steam Deck. So that about covers it for all of the major releases on August that I think will run on Steam Deck. But there are definitely some that I think won't run on Steam Deck, or rather I know won't run on Steam Deck. And of course, the last game I want to feature is a game called Limkss. It looks like a Vampire Survivor-like, but with rhythm game elements, and it looks like you have multiple people in your party, which does look pretty cool actually. I'm not entirely sure how this would shake out each run, but it does look pretty slick, so I want to give it a try, and hopefully it works well on Steam Deck. That said, the demo is supposed to release sometime in August the 5th, but as it stands now, the actual game has no full release date. All we know is that it comes out sometime in August, but the biggest one of those is Concord. You know, this is like the second time I've talked about Concord. At this rate, I'm gonna become a Concord channel. I'm not particularly interested in this game, but the most interesting part about this game is that the PlayStation overlay doesn't run on Steam Deck, or at least Sony won't let you install it on the Steam Deck, meaning that this game won't work on the Steam Deck because of Sony's machinations. And from what I understand, Valve treats PlayStation overlay as a sort of anti-cheat, so there is a good chance that the PlayStation overlay just won't work on Steam Deck. Ever. Anyways, that about covers it for all of the games this month that I want to try out. Obviously the big releases are Black Myth Wukong and Visions of Mana, but there's also a lot of great indies that you shouldn't sleep on. If you like this video, please press the like button and check out our other videos, and if you like those other videos as well, be sure to press the subscribe button and share the good gospel of high-tech lowlife with your friends. Furthermore, we have a community Discord for enlightened individuals such as you. And if you wish to further support high-tech lowlife, be sure to check out our Patreon page. Links in the description.